Imagine taking your family on a dream vacation to Walt Disneyland. You and your family would have the time of your lives, making lasting memories at the happiest place on earth. This was the intent for 110 families that traveled to Orange County, California to visit Walt Disneyland between the dates of December 2014 and February 2015. This trip indeed would be life-changing for each of these families, as all 110 children that left this park ended up in the hospital due to an outbreak of measles. The outbreak was caused by an unvaccinated infected child that traveled to the park from abroad and infected children who had not yet received their MMR vaccine. The majority of the infected children were from families that refused to vaccinate their children for personal beliefs. The remainder were infected children that either were too young to receive the vaccination or had only received the first round of vaccinations and had not developed their immunity to the virus. After listening to this speech, I encourage you to obtain vaccinations, not only for you, but also for your children. Today I will be discussing how vaccines work, the scientific benefits of immunizations. I will define herd immunity and why it is important, and share scientific evidence to forewarn against the anti-vaccination community. To begin, let's learn how vaccinations work and the benefits of receiving vaccinations. According to Immunology Frontier, the incidence of numerous infectious diseases that are life-threatening to humans has drastically declined since the development of safe and effective vaccines and the implementation of global vaccination programs worldwide. According to vaccine.com, vaccines work by injecting inactive viruses or bacteria to stimulate the body's B and T cells to produce antibodies against the viruses or bacteria, resulting in immunity to the pathogens. Because the viruses and pathogens are inactive, the individuals receiving these vaccines do not become sick, but they do receive long-lasting immunity to these serious diseases. Vaccines prevent infection of 16 different diseases in newborns and adolescents. Some of these include measles, smallpox, polio, mumps, and rubella. Smallpox and measles are two infectious diseases that have been eradicated since the implementation of global vaccination programs worldwide. Now let's discuss herd immunity. Herd immunity occurs when a disease is introduced to a vaccinated population and is contained, or in other words, there is a local interruption of transmission. This means that if there's an individual that does not have immunity to one of these infectious diseases, the immune system, or if their immune system is compromised, they are still protected in essence by the herd around them. Let's take a closer look at herd immunity. The following video I'm going to show is from Frontline and details why herd immunity is important.
But ethicists say vaccines are special.
Vaccines have an odd power that drugs don't have. If I take a drug, it doesn't help you. But if I get vaccinated and some others get vaccinated, then you may be benefited by so-called herd immunity.
Together, we are together.
In other words, if a certain percentage of the population is vaccinated, that will stop infections from spreading, because most of the people around that child are vaccinated, so therefore the virus can't really spread. However, when a critical number of people aren't vaccinated, when there's a critical drop in herd immunity, then the viruses can spread. And not only are those children who aren't vaccinated at risk, but those who can't be vaccinated are at risk.
Thank you.
When enough people don't vaccinate, herd immunity begins to crumble. The first to suffer are vulnerable populations, those who because of age or illness can't be vaccinated. When Vanessa was 6 weeks old, too young for most vaccines, her only protection was from the herd. Then she came down with a severe cough.
She turned totally blue. She stopped breathing, and we didn't know what to do to have her breathing back again. I took her outside, bring her back. She wasn't responding.
An ambulance brought her to the pediatric ICU in her hometown of Portland, Oregon. Fortunately, the intensivist on call that night was Dr. Cynthia Christophany. This was Vanessa.
I look at the video and I keep saying, Vanessa, take a breath, please. Because we knew that a child of that age with an already narrow airway baseline who's not inhaling well could easily lose consciousness from lack of oxygen and perhaps die.
And they're giving her oxygen.
Dr. Christophany opened the infant's airways and sucked copious secretions from her mouth. Vanessa had pertussis, whooping cough. Her status was so dire, the chaplain was brought into the ER.
Vanessa was 40 days old when she was diagnosed with whooping cough. So we were probably a week away from having her vaccine for whooping cough. So the only thing that will protect a kid like that will be the herd immunity. And in that case, somebody in the community didn't vaccinate or got Vanessa infected.
Vanessa survived, and the CDC traced her pertussis to an infected student at her brother's high school.
This video outlined how herd immunity failed to protect a baby that was not yet vaccinated because they came in contact with a child whose parents refused to vaccinate them. This person infected the baby by means of transmission of pertussis. Let's discuss why some individuals believe it is better not to vaccinate their children. These individuals are known as the anti-vaccination community, or in their words, they like to be called the anti-vaxxers. Many of these families lack scientific findings to support their thoughts and beliefs. Many individuals that refuse to vaccinate their children currently and previously have referred to a study published in the Lancet Journal in 1998 by a pediatric gastroenterologist by the name of Dr. Andrew Wakefield. His claim was that there was a scientific link between the MMR vaccine and autism. This article was heavily publicized by the media, thus resulting in many families refusing to vaccinate their children for fear of autism. This article was retracted or removed from publication in 2010 for reasonings of fraud, the monetary gain that the physician received because of this article, and inconsistencies with the study's findings. Dr. Wakefield unfortunately lost his medical license as well when this article was retracted. Many people who label themselves as anti-vaxxers also believe in something called natural immunity. They believe that if their child becomes sick, they will build up their own natural immunities to these viruses or bacteria that will keep them from getting sick again. Now, while they're thinking of natural immunity may be right, they're forgetting one important fact, that many of these diseases can sometimes be fatal, especially in children and individuals who have compromised immune systems. They also forget that scientists spent many hours and millions of dollars to create these vaccines in an effort to eradicate them because there was pandemics happening, and unfortunately many of these children did lose their lives. Today I shared information with you on vaccinations and why the immunity that they provide to us is important for healthy living. I hope that after listening to this speech that you have been encouraged to obtain vaccinations for not only yourself but also for your family. I discussed today how vaccines work, the scientific benefits of immunizations, herd immunity, and why it is important, and scientific evidence to forewarn against the anti-vaccination community. In order to mitigate further outbreaks, it is our civic duty to protect our health and also the health of those around us. We do this by obtaining our vaccinations. Our lives depend upon it.